So sit in your most comfortable seat, whether it's Sukhasana, whether it's more of a Siddhasana like this, and press your hands down on the top of your thighs. And begin to move whatever, if you happen to be a neck and shoulder person, you might want to start to shrug your shoulders, get some movement in there. Do what you normally do to start getting the machine going, all right? For me, it's taking the dog for a walk. Now, with this particular method, the Iyengar method, what I want you to do is lift your knees and feed your feet a little bit further to the opposite side of the cross, right? And then take the heels of the hands down into your thighs. Reach forward and up with the side ribs and take the inner arms back and down. And begin to relax some of that effort so that you settle into your posture. Once you've settled in, begin to bring your awareness to your breath and allow the breath to begin to expand and lengthen the trunk. All right, so you have this upward motion as you breathe in. See if you can hold some of that lift with the musculature as you breathe out. So there's a hollowness in the whole trunk region. Think of your trunk as having internal space. Okay? Now, from here, bring your palms together in front of your sternum and let the heels of the hands come right in here to the base of the sternum and lift the front chest and descend the buttock bones down. Make sure your groins are releasing. Now, sometimes that's a pretty tall order, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But now close your eyes, relax your jaw, and release your tongue. And begin to notice what transpires now. There might be a fluttering of the eyes, or you may be more aware of something that's holding with regards to your posture. So let that go. And use your breath to land on your mat. There's always things that are happening before you practice and after. And sometimes following your breath with your eyes closed is a quicker way to get present. Slowly open your eyes, looking outwards, and then take the palms of the hands together and up, taking the outer elbows towards one another, and find a nice stretch along the top of the trunk, between the shoulder blades, between the collarbones, and then feed your hands all the way up overhead. If it's tight in your shoulders, you keep your elbows bent this round. If you can lengthen fully up, spin the outer arms forward and look up at your thumbs, and then turn your palms out to the side. Exhale, and keep the lift of your chest as you lower the arms all the way out and down. Take a gentle twist to your right. Keep the head over the tailbone. And then take a gentle twist to your left. And now reverse the cross of the legs. You might find that there's some things that are easier on the side, some things that are more awkward. And again, a quick fix is taking that back of the thigh from inner groin to outer hip. That in two ways begins to more evenly spread the surface of your flesh on the blanket, and it also gives you a little inward rotation of your thighs. Press the hands down into your legs, reach the side ribs forward and up, head floats over the tailbone, and then take the palms together once again and begin to bring the elbows towards one another as you extend the arms up. Now, if you get tight in the shoulders, rather than holding the elbows bent, take your arms out to the side so you feel a really good sweep and take the palms forward, which is much easier on the shoulder socket. Good. Lengthen from the buttock bones up through the back body, up through the back of the arms, up through the back of the hands, and then turn your palms out. Exhale and lower the arms out and down. And then take another gentle twist to your right. And then to your left. And just notice if the tendency is to take your head and turn it first rather than turning from the base, the navel, the ribs, the armpits. Good. Exhale. And now extend your legs straight out in front of you, or Dandasana, and sit as far back on the blanket as you can. So with this particular position, you get a bit more of the back of the thigh pressing down into the blanket, and you'll feel how the thighs can engage and enroll a little bit more. Now, knees are straight up, toes are straight up, spread the toes. And some days I'll be able to bring my toes to touch. Today, in order to keep my ankle from bowing out, I'm going to have my feet separated. Okay. So see if you can uniformly firm the thighs, fill in the back of the knees, and extend through the feet. And now interlace your fingers, extend the palms out, sweep the arms up overhead, inhale, exhale, release out, reverse cross of the arms. This time, separate your feet hip width as if you're doing downward dog. Extend the arms out, inhale, sweep your arms up. Nice deep breath in, and then release your palms so they're facing forward and flex your wrists. So here you get a sense of directing an engaged thigh down into the floor, buttock bones down into the floor. Let your arms release a little bit more towards the floor. And Christy, plug your elbows in if you can. Yeah, there you go. Exhale, release the arms out and down. And now take the blankets away. Come into child's pose. And ever so slightly move your hips from side to side, noticing how the top of the thighs are rolling to the right and rolling to the left. Let your forehead rest on the floor. So all of us have a different level of openness in the rotation of the pelvis and in the openness of the knees and the hips. All right, so we're all like a little fingerprint. Same thing goes for the shoulders, the necks. You could say the same thing of the upper trunk, right? But we're working a little bit more into the hips and the groins this week. So if I lift too high in the buttock bones here, I don't really ever get down to my heels. So I'm going to take the buttock bones down slightly until I feel my lower back fill in. And then cup your hands as if you have tennis balls underneath the palms of your hands, and see if lifting the palm of the hand and your armpit gives you more extension out. Exhale, press your palms down. Inhale, lift up onto your hands and knees and bring your knees right beneath your hips. So in other styles, you may hear the term cat-cow. And so when you go into cat, the buttock bones go down, right? And then your navel comes up and you have this nice arc. So you can go ahead and do that if you wish. And then when you go into cow, the buttock bones lift up and your navel drops down, right? So you get this arc dropping down. Now, if you do both, lifting the buttock bones up and lifting your navel to fill in your back body, you'll feel an engagement of the lower abdomen. And it also provides you with a better sense of now solidarity and action of the hip region as you take your thighs up and back, navel up, buttock bones back, stretch your arms and let your head hang. So if you're landing evenly in the ball mounds of your feet, more than likely your heels are centered in the middle of the foot. And if you're pressing down into the ball mounds of the feet and your knees are filled in and firm, not locked, you're lifting the kneecaps up towards the front hips. Continue to extend back evenly through the inner and outer heel as the body opens. Think about the planting of the palms, the planting of the feet, the lifting of the buttock bones, and the lifting of the navel. And sometimes you may even find, if you're very open and flexible, so Carolyn, if you take your buttock bones down towards your heels a little bit, you might feel the lower back filling in. Yeah. Take 3 more breaths. and then come back into child's pose. And now bring yourself into Baddha Konasana. And whatever distance your feet need to be away from your hips so you can sit upright. And then begin to roll back and forth. And let your forearm rest in your thigh. So you really get a release in this whole outer hip, right? And then you can come over to the other side and do the same thing. You know, to the extent that it works for you organically, find a place. Now, stay to your left and take your right hand to the inner right thigh. And as you ground the outer edge of your right foot, see if you can start to extend up through the inner thigh. And you might find on more flexible people that the leg really goes out quite a bit. So you're looking to keep your thigh as grounded as possible on the left. Good. And then inhale, come up and rock and roll back and forth. So you reset a little bit. And then lean to your right side here. Lean in, lean in, lean in. Take the heel of the hand, scrub the thigh up. So there's an extension from the inner groins up through the thigh. Keep the side ribs evenly reaching up and away from the left hip. Upper arms back, side ribs forward and up. See how far you can get that left leg out, and then rock and roll back and forth again. Now, the vinyasa style, which was evolving from Patabi Joyce, had a lot of flow and a lot of movement to it, which is fine if you're healthy and your joints are young. But as you get a little older, the idea of motion is a little less aggressive. Motion is good because when you repeat things several times, the body tends to open up. Now, take your hands to the back region of the floor behind you. And as you press the outer edges of your feet together, imagine reaching your knees away from one another, including the idea that the back of the knee reaches out. Now take your hands to your kneecaps and reach the kneecaps out into the palms. You might feel an even more engaged reach of the inner thighs. So sometimes these reaching through the walls of the room is helpful. Okay. And then lean back, knees up, extend your heels out, Dandasana. So we'll take one more downward dog and come to stand. See if you find your child's pose is more ease-filled now that we played around with the hips and the groins. So the buttock bones draw down. The navel fills in the lower back. Cup your hands, lift the palms, lift the armpits, and then extend it out. So there's a term, active rest, which is when you're in a more restful pose, like child's pose, you're still active, but you find it restful. Certainly it is compared to downward dog. Inhale, come up onto your hands and knees. Bring the knees under the hips and begin to lift the navel and lift the buttock bones. Find a sense of solidarity in that lower abdominal region. And then tuck your toes under and take the firm thighs, the lift of the navel, the reach of the buttock bones into your posture to facilitate extending through the arms, taking the front of the legs towards the back of the legs. Inner and outer heel moves back, center of the heel moves down. So there's always an equal and opposite action going on. So as you reach out through the fingertips, you're reaching back to the heels. As you're pressing down into the ball mounds, you're lifting up through the front thighs. As the heels go down and the buttock bones go up, you stretch the back of the legs, and so on and so forth. Find your way into a standing forward bend. either walking forward or walking your hands back. Bend the knees if the thighs, if the back of the knee and the back of the thigh is pulling, right? So you get a stretch in the hamstring here, but you don't want it to go behind your knee. Now cross your forearms. And here we are in Uttanasana, standing forward bend, active rest. Reverse the cross of your arms. Feel your breath. Let the breath do the work now as we stay reasonably still, not frozen, but reasonably still in this pose. And now slowly come up, bringing your hands to the front thighs, pushing the thighs back, reaching out to the chest. Take the sitting bones down to come up. Tadasana. Palms face forward, plant your feet, firmly lift your front thighs, reach down through the fingertips. Good. All right, so let's set up for some of our standing poses. Now, in the world of standing poses, we always have triangle, right? Triangle, extended side angle, warrior one, warrior two, and extended chest pose, which in Sanskrit is Uttita Trikonasana, Uttita Parsvakonasana, Virabhadrasana 1, Virabhadrasana 2, and Uttita Parsvakonasana. So right now, if you put a block between the inner edges of your feet, and you might want to rotate it 90 degrees, Angela, because it's a little wide for your hips. Yeah. It might work with that block, but you can be the judge. Basically, what we're going to do is start a kickstand. Yeah, if the ball mound of your foot is on the outer edge of the block, it should work. Yeah, rather than going into the center where the handhold is, right? So if you bring the inner heel and the big toe mound into the inner edge of your block and press into the block and down into the floor equally, you might feel a movement of your inner thigh out. So see if you find that. Ground the center of the heel down, firmly lift your kneecaps, take the side ribs up and extend down through your fingertips. So you want to reach down through your hands. Now turn your palms forward. Feel a really nice engagement of the whole body and let your head float over your tailbone. Now, if you're having difficulty with your shoulder raising the arm out to the side, you're just simply going to take your arms up today. All right. So if you're taking the outer arm up, the inner shoulder blade comes down and you stretch fully through the fingertips, planting the heels. Now notice how your weight easily shifts forward and back between the heels and the ball mounds of the feet. Keep the reach of the arms, shift your weight into your left foot, and then kickstand the right heel into your left shin and let your foot be on the block. So use the reach of the arms to maintain a sense of equanimity and balance. Now, if we take our knee back too far, the trunk starts to turn, right? So the right knee has to be slightly forward of the right hip. So these hip points are the same, side ribs are the same, and the shoulders are still parallel to the front of your mat. So let the right thigh drop, all right? Almost like you're doing Baddha Konasana again, reaching the inner thigh out through the inner knee. And then switch out. If your arms get a little tired, just cross the forearms and lift up. I know some of us have. And now take the heel of the left foot into the right shin. Good. That's it. So notice how if you sweep your left knee back, your right hip comes forward. So keep the hips even at the front edge of the mat. Let the left thigh drop. Use the pressure on and off with the ball mound of the foot to keep you balanced. And then exhale, release your arms out and down and find a comfortable position, either palms on the back, hands on the side. And we're going to do a progressive elevation of the foot. So come back into your kickstand. Let the inner thigh drop down. Now, this is without the assistance of the hands yet. We will take it up higher, but right now, find your balance on your left foot and bring your right foot up as high as it'll go. Now, if you take your navel back, you might get a little bit more lift of your right knee, but watch out, sometimes you'll seize up in that right hamstring, right? Navel back, lift it up. If you want to add the arms, keep your hands close to the body and stretch upwards. Let the right thigh descend down. So even if you're not fully engaged with the foot on the leg, you get a lot of work in strengthening that left hip. Right? Being balanced doesn't necessarily mean that you're constantly frozen like a statue. There's a lot of movement. And then release your right foot down as slowly as possible, because that will also build strength as well. Inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, release your arms down. Kickstand the left heel into the right shin. Make sure your knee is in a place where you're level with the front aspect of your hips. And then on an inhalation, scoop the abdomen in and up and find your foot as high up as it's going to go. Drop the left thigh. Lift the trunk. If you want to go further, extend the arms up. On Saturday, we were working with balance also. And of course, the holidays sometimes sets us off kilter because of the scheduling and the difference of schedule, or maybe your different time zone even. Yeah, you can do the Rockettes there too. That's always a good one. And then lower your left foot down, sweep the arms out and down. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, release down. Take 2 blocks to the corners of the mat. We're going into Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. So if you take that aspect, right, of turning the knee out to the side, of releasing the inner thigh down, and using the other leg as a stationary tool for extension, you can bring that into triangle pose right now. With the turn out of your right thigh, make sure it's a heel to arch alignment here, and use this extension through the left heel to facilitate the extension of the trunk. Turn your right thigh to the right, and now extend out over your right leg. Reach the inner elbows back and find a place where your head's between your shoulders. You might want to go a little wider, Stephanie. That'll give you more extension. Yeah. Now, continue to lengthen out, plant the feet, firm your thighs, and begin to draw this right outer hip crease back as the left side of the pelvis lifts up. And bring your hand lightly to a block. Turn your right arm to the right, turn your trunk to the left, and then take your left arm up. Now, if you're not at your end range for your hamstring, by all means, turn the block down and begin to absorb that right thigh up towards the top of the left thigh. Tailbone forward, navel back, turn your navel to the left, look up, and then inhale and come back up. Turn your feet to parallel and prepare for the other side. So using the extension through the right leg, the turn out of your left, use your hand to support that turn and bring your shoulders back to square up with the end of the mat. So your trunk is taking a twist, right? It's taking a twist. Exhale, extend out over that left leg. Take your hand to the block if you reach it. If not, keep it on your left thigh. And begin to plant the left foot down. Fill in the back of the left knee, possibly by taking the inner knee up. And Lisa, you could go wider too. Use the extension of the right leg and the trunk to make this pose lighter. Turn your navel, turn your gaze, and then extend the arm up. Plant the feet as you exhale. Firmly lift your thighs and extend your chest as you inhale. And if turning your head is too much for balance and or for your neck, just look straight ahead. Inhale and come back up. Turn your feet to parallel and then side step or jump back to Tadasana. Inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, release the arms out and down. Hands to the hips. Kickstand your right foot. Bring your foot up. Lengthen the chest. If you want to go further, you can reach down for your right foot and bring it up higher on the left thigh. But I think I'm just going to stay here because it's really solid. And then release down, Tadasana. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, release the arms out and down. Hands to the hips, kickstand your left foot. Again, remember the hips stay forward, parallel to the end of your mat. Take your left leg up. If you want to go further, find your shin, take the foot up. Again, this knee is forward of my left hip. You want to go even further, take the arms up. And then exhale and release. No worries, you'll have plenty of opportunity to do your tree today. Before the wind comes tomorrow. Take your blocks off of your mat so you don't run into them. Now with Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2, what you're going to find is that the hips like to direct the pose. So right now your hip points are forward, which is the same as tree pose. Now turn your feet to the right, heel to arch alignment, and you'll notice how the right hip starts to drop, just like triangle pose. So if I was going into triangle pose, I would accentuate that and keep going out, right? But we're not, we're going into Warrior 2. So take your right hand to the right side of your pelvis, and as you bend your right knee, lift the right side of the pelvis up. Stack your right knee over the heel of the foot. Now, just like Sukhasana, take your hand and press the thigh down, lift up through the side ribs, and now turn, without letting that knee move from the heel of the foot, turn your ribs to the left. Look over your left shoulder. And then release your arms, extending through the fingertips, reaching through the left heel, sit deeply into that right thigh. Then turn your gaze over your right hand for Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Now from here, I invite you to reach out through your right arm, straighten your right leg, and then extend out into Trikonasana. Inhale and come up, turn your feet to parallel. So Warrior 2 gives you more of that appropriate stance for your feet, kind of forces you into it. All right, so have your hands on your outer pelvis again. Turn your feet to the left, heel to arch alignment. As you bend your left leg, all right, so first off, lift your chest, turn your navel to the right a little bit. So you're square with the shoulders. The hips are no longer square, but your navel can still move to the right. Lift your left side of the pelvis up as you bend your left leg into a square. Now, go as far as you can with regards to the reach of the inner thigh out towards the inner knee. Sounds like tree pose, right? Reach it out, reach it out, reach it out, ground the heel, lift off through the trunk and turn your navel to the right. Look over your right shoulder, reach through the limbs, grounding the right heel, the left heel down, reaching the inner left thigh out through the inner left knee, reach, 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 and then take your gaze over your left hand. Now keep extending through the limbs, especially that left arm. Draw the left thigh up and back and take perhaps a deeper, more ease-filled Trikonasana. So as the left leg begins to straighten, you might find that you're a little lower in this pose. Plant the feet, Extend through the limbs, including the sternum towards the chin, and then inhale and come up. Turn your feet back to parallel and side step or side step and jump. Tadasana. So the key with coming into these jumpings, because classically in this method, you would jump out into your stance and jump back. So this provides a little bit more of that aerobic quality that you would find in the vinyasa practice. So that's what the two, Iyengar and Patabi Joyce are often compared in terms of their styles because they're very widely known throughout the yoga world, especially in the West. Now, take your hands to your outer hips. This is a trick with tree pose that I enjoy doing, is dragging the right foot up the inner leg. When you can't go any higher, take your navel in and up, okay? And then turn your knee out to the side. If you want to go further, you take your hand down the shin and bring the heel up higher. Now, if it slides, the foot sliding is always an issue, right? Drop the thigh out of the hip and take a squeeze of the left thigh towards the right foot. Navel draws in and up. So sometimes when it comes to balance, you need more extension. Sometimes when it comes to balance, you need to regroup, find your breath, and then come up again. So think of that first part where you have closed your eyes and you found your breath. You want to go further, take the arms up overhead. Vrikshasana, tree pose. Exhale, drag the foot down the inside of the leg. Right? So that would be the full pose. If you're still working along the lines of the pieces, then it would be maybe this. I'm going to turn at an angle so you can see a bit more dimension, right? So I would maybe go up and down, right? Because that's putting weight into the standing leg, and you might need more strength there. And then there's the dragging. So if I start pressing the foot into the shin and the shin into the foot, that starts that action of taking the outer thigh in, right? So I might go up and down, and then I come as high as I can, and the navel goes back, and the knee comes up, and then I turn it out, right? I might not get too far, right? I might just be here trying to open the door. And if the foot slides, you hold it either with your hand or you could involve a belt, right? And then as I drop that thigh down from the inner groin down through the knee, I pull up on the shin, and it gives me a little bit more leverage. And then maybe I stay here for a little bit. Or here, lift the sternum with the heels of the hands, and then continue up. All right, so that's the progression. So every way along this line, you are getting a lot of support in the base of the pose as you build it up, as you move deeper into it. So it's not about getting into the full pose so much as it is starting with the foundation. All right, so in a way, this method was well suited to me because I was drawing foundations for buildings. Now I speak about foundations for your feet. Another interesting little byline is we just recently, after 15 years, it's kind of good to get a new bed. So we were in the place where we bought our mattress, and the woman who sold us the bed said, someone came in once and said a very wise thing. You should never, ever cheap out on shoes or mattresses because they support you for most of your life. So we sleep however many hours we sleep, which is the majority of the time. And then we have our shoes, which we're on most of our time, unless you are crazy like me and I run barefoot most of my day. Even to feed the birds first thing in the morning, I'm out barefoot on the back deck. So stand in Tadasana, stretch down through the fingertips, take your arms forward and up, And then release the arms out and down. And do this 2 more times just to get some more movement in. Go up with the inhalation, down with the exhalation. Good. So let us go back into Warrior 2. And from Warrior 2, we're going to use that knowledge to take us into extended side angle. So now, with your wide stance, turn the feet heel to arch alignment. All right, so again, you might notice, oh, I like to drop my hip. So lift the right hip as you bend your right leg into a square. If you ever feel jammed up in your left hip, you just let that inner thigh roll back. Now take your hand, make the letter C with your hand, and put it right into the crook of the right thigh. So your outer right hip is now moving back. The left side of the pelvis lifts up, and bring your forearm to your thigh. Use the reach of your left leg to extend the trunk. Turn the abdomen to the left. So Lisa, if you can bring your right hip, because it's kind of reaching out with the right leg, if you can reach the right thigh back more, watch this. So you're a little bit here, but if you can go more here, the trunk will come down. And that's going to articulate that right hip, right? Now, if you want to go further, you can begin to lie down, pressing your right forearm into the shin, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Maybe get your hand to your foot, maybe not. Turn your navel to the left, reach to the left leg, and then take your left arm alongside your ear, very much like we were doing in Urdhva Hastasana. So it's just this sweep, right? So try it. Take your hand back down to your hip, all the way down. Yep, just straight arm. Turn your trunk to the left, and then sweep the arm up. Good. Straighten your right leg, Trikonasana. Inhale, come up, turn your feet to parallel. So those are the 3 basic poses that we face this long dimension of the mat. I call them the lateral poses. Now turn your feet to the left, heel to arch alignment. Notice how you naturally drop down. Now, plant your feet, exhale, firm your thighs, lift your chest, inhale. Broaden the collarbones, reach out through the chest, feel space, let it be spacious. Lift the left side of the hip as you come back into Warrior 2. Make your hand into the letter C, right? Fingers forward, thumb on the back. And now draw that outer left hip back towards the right heel. Reaching out, reaching out, reaching out. Let this right hip lift up now. If you can get lower, you take your forearm to the front shin. All right, turn your chest. Straighten your right arm alongside body. Either your hand comes down to your foot, or you're still here, or you're here. Whatever is most open and extending. Make sure that knee is over the heel of the foot and not sweeping forward. All right, so watch out for that left knee. Good. Now, sweep your arm alongside the ear. All right, so make sure you still have movement. That's it. Good. Like you become a human windmill. Inhale and come back up. Turn your feet to parallel. Either side step, because that gives you more evenness also. A little bit more outward, inward turning, or you're out here and you jump in on an inhalation. Right? So that's how it works. Usually the jumpings are not so great for knee and back irritated folk. Right? So just shift your weight back and forth from one foot to the other. Right? Cross your forearms, raise your elbows up. So get a sense of how shifting from side to side is not so scary. Okay? Now, slowly bring your feet back together. Reach up through your elbows. If you're open enough, hold the outer elbows and lift up. Heels press down, firm the knees, lift the thighs, lift the back ribs. And now drag your right foot up alongside the inner left leg. Turn it out to the side when you get as high as you're going to go. If you want to go further, straighten the arms up and find your right knee. Vrikshasana. Drop the right thigh as you extend up through the trunk. Round the inner edge of the foot. So you're kind of weaving back and forth, but on a less dramatic scale than a moment ago. Release the arms and the leg down. Take your hands to your hips. Have your feet a little bit wider. So it's just like shifting, right? The heel lifts. This time you get a little lighter. You're still soft in the knees, even though it looks like I have locked knees. So you're just rocking back and forth. And then find your way back. Drag the left foot up. Turn the knee out. You want to go further. Take your foot up higher. Cross your forearms, raise your elbows up. Right? Feel yourself transferring weight. In this case, not so much to the right foot and the left foot, but to the inner and outer edge of your right foot. Lengthen the arms up. And then exhale, release out and down. Inhale the arms up. Nice deep breath in. Exhale, release the arms out and down. Now, there is a variation of Warrior One that really allows us an opportunity to focus on balance. And that's with the arms out to the side. All right, so it looks like this from a frontal view. And then we turn the palms up, back, and it assists in opening up the chest. So right now, if you take your right foot forward, your left foot back, we're just going to do the same thing, a little rock and roll. And slowly, slowly begin to find your way into a very deep stance. Right foot way forward, left foot way back. Turn both thighs to the right. Extend your arms out to the side. As you turn your palms up, take the thumbs back. Really open up in that chest. And as you exhale, take the left thigh back and the right thigh forward. Drop the right thigh down and reach your arms up overhead, counter to that action. If you feel any jamming in your lower back, do two things. Draw your right hip back and extend forward slightly. So you lengthen and create more space in this back area. Ground your right heel, reach your left thigh back. Maybe go out a little further if it's a good day. Think tree pose with everything from your outer right hip up. So just extend, straighten your right leg. And then as you draw the thigh back, reach out, reach out, reach out, cross your forearms. Don't go too far, because this is the start of extended chest pose. And then inhale, come back up, lift the outer elbows and sit back down for one more Warrior One. Extending the arms is optional. Focus on the lift of the trunk and the extension of the legs away from the pelvis. Inhale, straighten your right leg. Release your arms out and down. And then maybe find that rock and roll to bring yourself back to Tadasana at the top of your mat. Inhale, sweep your arms up. Exhale, arms down. And now start to separate the feet bit by bit. So by shifting the weight back and forth, you might feel more stable. So you find the balance in the instability. Turn both thighs to the left. Extend your arms out to the side. And as you turn your palms up, thumbs back, lift the sternum. Reach the right thigh back, rounding through the back of the center of the right heel. Reach your left thigh forward, press the center of your left heel down. And now take the arms up. Lift both on the front body and the back body. Take your outer left hip back. Reach out a little bit over that left thigh and sit deeper in your left leg. So if your knee is beyond the line of your left foot, your left heel, take the toes and walk the left foot out further. Lengthen on an inhalation, so deeper on an exhalation. Inhale, straighten that left leg. Bring your hands to hold the outer arm of the opposite side, and then begin to draw the left thigh back and reach out of that left leg. Not very much, because we're not in the right stance for it. Inhale, come up. Exhale, sit deeply into warrior one again. So by coming into the pose a second time, you might find more ease or more information that cleans up your posture. Straighten the left leg, release the arms out and down. Find that rock and roll, and then stand in Tadasana. Take your arms forward, out and up. Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale. Tadasana. Good. Now, bring a chair in onto your mat. Now, this allows a whole lot of variety with regards to how far out into the posture you'll go. So right now, you're going to take your right foot forward and your left foot back. You could do your back and forth, hands to the chair, and then slide your right foot underneath the seat of the chair as far as it will go. If your hamstrings are tight here, you add a block to either side to elevate your pose, so you feel clean and open in your hamstring. Now, if you're using just the chair, I suggest taking the fingers and taking them to the outside of your chair. This tends to open the shoulder region. Now, plant the feet, fill in the back of the right knee, because it's very easy to press into that foot and have all the weight in the heel of the foot. So the weight in the ball man's versus the heel is informative. So I lift my inner right knee. I get more lift to the right thigh. The outer right hip draws back, and now I feel a more uniform stretch in the back of my right thigh. Plant the feet. Find that little radio dial of taking the navel up or the buttock bones down. So you get as much extension on the front and the back of the spine near the waist and the lower back. Now, if this is it for your hamstring, you can always extend your arms out to the top of the back of the chair. Right? So you want to get long in the spine. If you're someone who can come deeper, you take your hands to the back edge of the chair and then begin to lengthen out more and more and more. You can let your head rest on the seat of the chair. And this gives you a good viewpoint to make sure you're not locking out your knees. So stay here for a few more breaths, drawing the right thigh up and back, letting the outer left hip come forward and down. And then slowly begin to bring yourself back up. Turn the fingers to the outside of the chair if you're only using the chair, and step your right foot back and your left foot underneath the seat of the chair like before. You want your hips square, so you have to figure on shortening or lengthening your stance in order to accomplish this. So left foot is forward, right foot is back. Turn both thighs to the left. And then find your end range for your hamstring. Plant the feet, lift the thighs. So you can either stay up high here, if this is the end range for your hamstring, or if you want to go lower, hands to the back of the chair, or out beyond the chair. Absorb the left thigh up and back. Keep filling in the back of the knees by taking the inner knee forward. Plant the feet, reach through the limbs. And then slowly come back up. Take your feet into Tadasana position and be here in a standing forward bend Uttanasana position. So if you can, keep the length of the front body, even with the back body, and walk your hands down the front legs of the chair and let your forehead either rest in the seat of the chair or on a block. Elbows are bent, so the shoulders are open. Now, if you can go even further, you may want to take a stack of blocks for your head. So this is for the very bendy. Breathe. Take your navel up towards the spine. You might find some more lengthening happening. Roll the inner knees back slightly without disturbing your knees in line with the feet, so that the back of the thighs begin to spread from the inner groin towards the outer. And then from here, bend the legs, sweep your fingertips to the floor and come into Utkatasana. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Tadasana. Good. All right. So we can now sit in our chair with a block between the knees. So in this particular position, and I'm going to move my camera in a moment, you want to turn to your right first. It's better for digestion. But if you squeeze the block with the thighs, either at the knee joint or at the thigh flesh, it's going to give you a bit more stability in the position of your hips. Right? So as we go into the twist, it's an exhalation. So I got my feet squared away. I try the knees. It's like, okay, that's one position. I squeeze in the thighs. I like that even better. Broaden the collarbones. As you exhale, plant your feet, take the buttock bones down. As you inhale, scoop your abdomen in and up, and then turn, turn, turn. Look over your right shoulder. Sometimes when we turn to the right side of the body will lift quicker than the left side. So if you shorten the right side a little bit, it will even out the length of the side ribs, and you might be able to turn a little bit more. Exhale and release. And now turn around in your chair. Squeeze the block, however it's best for you. And then bring your hands to either side of the chair again. Squeeze the block. That tends to broaden and open a side joint here, because as you squeeze, it forces the top of the thigh bones out slightly. Press the heels down, gives you more of the sitting bones down. Respond by lifting the back ribs, and exhale, turn, turn, turn. Look over your left shoulder. When you can't turn anymore, you simply breathe, which is a wonderful, wonderful stimulative opening of the rib cage. The individual ribs, the muscles that line your spine. See if you can sense any of that as you breathe in and breathe out. And then exhale, release, come back in to your first side again. And immediately go in, exhale, feet down. Squeeze the block, inhale, lift up, and turn, turn, turn again. Notice the difference between your first twist and your second twist. If you feel as though you're stuck and something's not quite right, shorten the right ribs down, lift the left ribs up. And then exhale, release. So we're going to go back and forth 3 times. Notice the difference between your second round and your first round. Can you clean it up so that the action of the arms is equal to the action of the legs, equal to the lengthening and the lifting of the trunk? And then release. One more round. Bharadwajasana. So typically yoga was an oral tradition. And a lot of these twisting poses are named after sages that, I guess, perfected the pose. That's the lore. The reality of it, I'm not clear on, because it is an oral tradition, and we know how the game of telephone goes. All right, last time to your left. So you take some of these stories that are passed down with a grain of salt. And then release. All right. So now what we're going to do is take 2 blocks, 1 in each hand, face the other side of your mat. Now bring the hands down to the blocks, making sure your hands are wide enough to broaden fully between the collarbones, and then your feet are outside of that. Squeeze your knees into your arms, so your arms are inside. Come all the way to the front edge of your chair, so you have a full range of motion, and squeeze the knees into the arms press into the legs. Now, to whatever extent you can, some of us may be high blocks, some of us may be medium blocks, extend the arms out. So you're getting a bit of child's pose, but you're active in your legs by pressing the heels down. This should be really good for lengthening some of these parts in here in the lower back part of the pelvis. And then walk your hands back without the blocks and come to sit up. And now we're going to transfer to the floor for bridge pose. You can take any variety of bridge pose you would like. It can be feet on the floor. It can be feet on the edge of the chair. It can be feet on the back rail of the chair. All right. So it depends on how much range of motion you have in your neck, and every day is different. So what I would suggest is getting the action of the pose going with initially lying down on the floor, feet as close to finger reach as possible, and grab the outer edges of your mat. So if I grab the mat and stretch the arms, I'll lengthen the back body. My navel goes towards the floor, and that keeps the spine feeling grounded. Now, on an exhalation, press the inner edges of the feet down and imagine, if you will, that you're still squeezing the block, and come up. Exhale, lower down. Take a block even back where you had it for your twist and squeeze it. And then lengthen up again. Do you find perhaps more lift when you squeeze the block? So this teaches the legs how to move out of the pelvis and create support. Now, at this point, see if you can, releasing the mat, palms up, walk your shoulder blades underneath the body a little bit more. When you're closer with your shoulders to your feet, you're going to get more lift. When the palms are turned up, you're going to get more lift. Squeeze the block, lengthen the thighs, press the back of the arms down, and lift your side ribs up. Notice the pressure in the back of your head, right? It should be pretty minor. You can feel the floor, right? But you still have a lot of mobility of moving your chin from side to side, towards the sternum and away. Exhale, release back down. You can take the block off to the side. If you're going to go further into this, bring your chair in to where you can hold the legs of your chair. And then have your feet on the vertical rail. Heels of the feet are on the seat of the chair. The name of the game with the chair is you always hold the legs of the chair. This keeps your shoulders in a good position, and it also gives you traction.
keep your gaze up at the ceiling now, because when you go higher, it will create a little bit more of pressure on the back of the head. But again, you don't want it so great that it irons out your neck into the floor. So you don't want to lose this curve in the back of your neck. Heels of the feet press down, exhale, back of the arms press down, exhale, inhale, lift your ribs, lift your hips, lengthen the thighs out of the hips. All right, so if you feel too much pressure on the back of the head, you just let your hips drop. All right, so this moderates it. But if you're fine with this, you keep lifting the tailbone up, walking the shoulder blades underneath you, walking your fingers up the legs of the chair. And if you want to come even further, you find the heels of the feet on the front edge of the chair and lift up further. Stay here for 5 to 10 breaths before coming down and letting your legs rest on the seat of the chair, moving away as you need so you feel the thighs being lifted up. Now, when you're up in bridge for 5 to 10 breaths, you're going to have all sorts of evolutions of experiences, right? You're going to have the mindset of, I want to get out of this now, but don't wait 3 breaths. But again, 5 to 10 breaths up in bridge pose. Give yourself that strengthening action of the lower back, of the back of the shoulders, of the back of the arms. Take one more breath in whatever position you're in, and then come down with your hips and move your body away from the chair. So you feel the back of your calf and your knee being hooked on the edge of the chair. Press the calves down, lift the back of the pelvis up. Find yourself on the back of the shoulder blades, the back of the arms, taking the hands out maybe a little further. And then as you exhale, slowly, slowly lower down, letting your abdomen drop first before the hips. And when you sense the floor, hover for a brief moment and then let go completely. You'll find that your lower back releases, oh, so much better. Relax your jaw, release your tongue. Let everything go. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just following your breath, experiencing your breath, and letting your breath teach you where to go in your posture. That's a rule of thumb you could use for the entire practice, really. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Slowly draw your knees towards your chest. Rock from side to side. Roll to your right and lie heavy here. Using your arms, press into the floor and come to sit up. Bring your palms together, heels of the hands ground into the sternum. Lift your sternum, release your arms down. Let your head hang from the nape of the neck.
Slowly open your eyes, looking outwards and upwards. Namaste.